So this week, July 5th through the 11th, is a total of $1,123.73, 41 items for an average price sold of $27.41. First up is a lot of Brownie Girl Scout patches, and it sold for 10 bucks. Next, we have a Michigan Mackinac Bridge Straits of Mackinac keychain, sold for $3.15. Next one is a decent sale. It is a Fire and Light. So it's a paperweight, and it's gonna be signed Fire and Light. This one was a star, an orange star, and it sold for $80. Next up was a cool sale. I do a lot of sunglasses, but this was a vintage pair of blue blockers with the original tag still on them, and they sold for 28 bucks. Next, we have a pair of earrings, sterling silver earrings, but this one is signed by a Navajo silversmith by the name Alvin Thompson, and these were just a small, very light pair of sterling silver earrings, and they sold for 25 bucks. If they were not signed, I'd be lucky to get 8 bucks for them. But because it was signed by a known silversmith, 25, good deal. Next up is a vintage bracelet. This has a bunch of little religious medals on it, I believe. It's a religious bracelet, and that's why I got 13 bucks. Generally speaking, if it's just like a cheap bracelet without a maker on there, even Chico's will get you more than 13 bucks. But this didn't have anything like that. The only thing it had going for it was it had a religious motif, and so I got 13 bucks. Next up is two spoons. It was two different orders. They went to the same person. One was a regular London collector spoon, which is just like a stamped metal, just like just be formed and then just stamp it out, punch it out. And a sterling silver one that I believe it was Venezuela. I was gonna say Mexico. And they both went to the same person for $12.50. Now that's a little bit on the light side for sterling silver spoons, but this was a small spoon, so it was 8.5 centimeters, if that gives you an idea. Up is a pink cameo sterling silver pin, like a either lapel pin or maybe a tie tack it could be used as, and it sold for 13 bucks. Next up is a vintage GFC employee service pin. I'm not sure what GFC stands for. I know GFC, I used to do electric work, so GFC was something like something fault, something or other. It was just, you put them, GFCs would be in your kitchen or in a bathroom. It's just like an extra circuit breaker almost, in case like too much voltage or amperage is going through, it just shuts it off. Not sure which one. It's been damn near almost 2 decades since I did electric work, and been paid for it. So in any event, GFC, I'm not sure what company this is. Maybe that's the company, I don't really know, but it sold for 20 bucks. It had some rubies on there. Good deal. It's funny because I actually was just at a thrift store where I bought this one, and they had another one sitting there and I didn't buy it, so probably should have. Next up is a lot of Grateful Dead pins. Now these aren't all that old. They're just enamel. You'd go to, let's see, what is some of those stores? Back when I was young, you used to go to record stores and they used to be at the counter. You'd pick them up there. But in any event, it was a lot of 5 of them, sold for 15 bucks. Next up is a cool part of history. It's a World War II Civil Defense volunteer pin, and this sold for $14.49. Next up is kind of one of those weird sales. You can buy 100 bolo ties and maybe sell one of them. This one is it's a vintage bolo tie cowboy, deal, $6.29. Next up, I got this. It's a bracelet. It's actually missing its tag, but I bought it with a ton of other Carolyn Pollock stuff. This is just missing its tag. It's a sterling silver wrap bracelet by Carolyn Pollock, who made stuff at Relios. I sell quite a bit of her stuff. Whenever I find it, I put it up and you get good money for it. So this one sold for $42.50. Next up is a Swarovski or Swarovski. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's one of those, I think it's Swedish or whatever. They make crystals. They make a lot of different things. Necklaces. People, you don't necessarily just buy Swarovski. Other companies use their stuff as well. The one name that's coming to my mind right now is like Helen Dios or Helios. I don't know. But in any event, doesn't really matter. Swarovski, it was a brooch. I love brooches. This one sold for $29.40. Next up, we have a vintage 900 sterling silver camel. It's like a Christian motif where camels are crossing the desert. This one sold for $8.40, which is rather on the light end, I might say. Again, you know, when I do these, I do them, and I'm about a month behind on doing them, but so I try to think back on exactly why I sold them for that price, and maybe it's been around for a long time. I'm not too sure. Next, we have a YSL, Yves Saint Laurent, or Yves Saint Laurent. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. YSL. These actually are pretty cool. These are a pair of vintage eyeglasses, and they sold for $85. But definitely keep your eye out for YSL. They make a lot of vintage jewelry. It's good stuff. Next up is gold over sterling silver ring. It says happy on it, and it sold for $13. Next up is a CD. I don't really do CDs. I know that some people, you know, 5-6 years ago, you could get into Amazon, sell them there. I think even 5-6 years ago, you need to be, you know, like grandfathered in. But in any event, I don't really sell them because, you know, you have to go through them, and 99% of the time they're scratched. This one is the Runaways live in Japan, sold for $9.75. Next up is a New With Tags Volcom hat, and this one sold for $8. I generally buy hats for, I used to buy hats for $1.99. I haven't bought them in quite some time. I don't even really look at them anymore, but you can make some good money, but it's just, you know, how much space you want to take up. I've got like 500 hats downstairs. Next up, we have a sterling silver shamrock spoon. It's like a little collector spoon, and this one sold for $28. Next is kind of cool. Anything that's old watches will sell. This is an antique Hickok watch fob. It's you know, it's called a beltogram. It would connect right to your belt, and it sold for $30. Next, we have this is actually rather cool. It's a Panetta. It's a duck, but the head, it's like a bobblehead duck brooch, and it was in really good condition. I had it up for, I think, 100 something bucks. Ended up selling for $70, so it's a good deal. Next is angel skin coral multi-strand necklace, and this one sold for $15. Some of these can go for big money, other ones don't. You know, again, a monkey. You know, I'm just throwing shit at the fucking wall. Next up, we have Oakley sunglasses, turbine, and these ones sold for $35. If I remember correctly, these ones were in pretty good condition. Maybe they had like one scratch. Oh, these are youth size. That's why I was selling $35. That makes more sense. Okay, next up is two cloisonne bracelets. These both went to the same person, and they both sold for $35. Next up, we have another name you should know. It's Patricia Locke, and this one is a signed necklace. It says Patricia Locke on the back. She does a lot of like modernistic designs. It's very simple yet elegant, and she's just someone you should know. I mean, I sell her. Anytime I buy her, it's gonna sell. I think this past 2 weeks ago, I think I sold 2 brooches of hers, each one in the neighborhood of $30, somewhere around there. But this one was a necklace, sold for $45, even though it was in kind of rough condition. Next up, we have a vintage gold over sterling silver ruby tennis bracelet. This goes to show you that not all that glitters is gold, and it won't sell like that. And this one sold for $36, which is honestly a very good price to get for this style of necklace, because you are competing with people in China that are selling knockoffs or this exact product for much cheaper. Next up, we have an Edison Safety First pin, like a little, you know, they'd give them out to their employees. This one sold for $9.50. Funny thing is, I just shipped out today. Actually, it's in a package. That might be it. 2 of these pins, and they both sold for a neighborhood of $30, but that won't be for like another month until I tell you about that. Next is it's a vintage menorah. I buy menorahs all the time, especially if they're say made in Israel, because they definitely sell. This one is kind of a modernist looking thing. It was kind of like an accordion style where it would kind of fold out, and it would just like sit kind of zigzagged. But this one sold for $24. Next up is a vintage brass animal. I do buy these a lot. Any of the weird ones do sell. This one was an armadillo. You do not find these very often. Generally you find frogs, and there's like a little mouse that you'll always find. I find those maybe like once a week. I see those. But this is an armadillo, kind of a funny little thing. 3 inches long, sold for 23 bucks. Next up is it's a set of Native American figures. They're like little miniature figures. These were plastic, and there's a lot of them, sold for $19.50. Okay, so speaking of things that are made in Israel, here is what is this called? An incense burner. That's what I have, a Jerusalem frankincense incense burner, and this one sold for 15 bucks. I know it's not a lot of money, but I do buy them for somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.99, maybe even $2.99, somewhere around there, and it's a quick flip. They do sell really quickly. Next up is 3 antique plates. This one was by Regina Crown, and these ones sold for 25 bucks. Next up, we have an antique 12 karat gold filled necklace with a little onyx accent on there, and this one sold for $17. Next up, we have a 10 karat gold pendant. It's got a little P on there. This one sold for 37 bucks, which is a pretty good deal considering the gold melt value in there is somewhere around 15 bucks. So I'll take it. Next is a sale I've been looking forward to for a while. It is it's like an antique little box. It's got a bunch of red coral on there. Red coral, I don't think people can harvest it legally anymore, but here it is, sold for 55 bucks. It's been up in my store for a long time. If I quickly take a glance, it's been up there since 2017. So it took 4 years to sell, but it's a little brass box with some coral on there. Not bad. Next up is a sterling silver brutalist modernist style flower ring. It's got just like a bunch of little stamped flowers on there. They're not, what is it called? Repose. But in any event, sold for $19.95. Next up, we have an authentic pair of Ray-Bans. These are the Cockpit Edition, and they sold for $47.50. All right, last but not least is a set of Rogers & Bros. Flare is the pattern, and it's a silver plate flatware set. There were 64 of them, and it sold for $105. And again, anytime I can get over $1 a piece is really good because I buy them for 10 cents a piece. So that was this week. I'll be back at you next week. Thank you for watching.